Wife's long affair with my friend ruined when I catch her red-handed and expose everything by printing their secret messages. So my wife 26F call her Emily cheated on me 27M with a friend of mine 27M call him John. For the story's sake, a bit of backstory. When I first laid eyes on Emily, I was completely captivated by her beauty. We met at a mutual friend's wedding when I was 22. She was a close friend of the bride, and I was a friend of the groom. They intentionally seated us next to each other, hoping something would spark between us. As soon as she sat down, we began to talk and quickly discovered we had a lot in common. Our connection was instant, and before long, we were dancing and laughing together. By the end of the night, we shared a heartfelt kiss on the dance floor. Our friends, the bride and groom, noticed our chemistry and excitedly asked if there was something between us. We shrugged it off and continued enjoying the night. After the wedding, we didn't exchange numbers, and I wasn't sure if I would see Emily again. However, a week later, I received a text from her asking me out. The bride had given her my number. I eagerly accepted, and that first date turned into a wonderful relationship. Our relationship was almost perfect. We had a few minor disagreements, but nothing serious. 2 years into dating, I proposed to her, and less than a year later, we were married. Our married life seemed idyllic at first. We enjoyed each other's company, and our connection deepened. However, just before our first anniversary, I started noticing small changes in Emily's behavior. She became more guarded with her phone, had more frequent girls' nights out, and our intimate life dwindled. I tried addressing these concerns, but she dismissed them, saying I was being insecure. This left me feeling unheard and gradually growing colder towards her. One night, while she was asleep, I decided to investigate further. I took her phone and laptop and meticulously went through her texts, emails, and messaging apps. I found nothing suspicious. Remembering stories I had read, I decided to check her car. To my shock, I found a second phone hidden in the glove compartment. My heart sank, knowing what this likely meant. I spent the night examining the phone. There was only one number, and the exchanged messages confirmed my worst fears. Emily was having an affair with my friend, John. Desperate to confront her with irrefutable evidence, I connected the phone to my computer, printing out all the messages and photos. I then researched divorce lawyers and found one I liked. I emailed him on Saturday, hoping to get the process started. The next step was to confirm who the unknown number belonged to. I typed it into my phone, intending to call under the pretense of being from a utility company. To my dismay, John's name appeared. I was furious, screaming and cursing in my office. Emily woke up and came to see what was wrong. I angrily told her to get out, my voice raised for the first time in our relationship. Her presence only fueled my rage. That day, I avoided her as much as possible, silently seething. I called one of my close friends, Tom, from the wedding, asking him to meet me for a drink. Hearing the distress in my voice, he agreed without question. At the bar, I ordered several shots and began drinking heavily. When Tom arrived, I told him everything. He was visibly upset, especially since he had introduced me to John. He apologized repeatedly, feeling partly responsible. I asked him not to tell anyone about the affair, as I hadn't confronted Emily or consulted the lawyer yet. He agreed, vowing to keep my secret. After drinking for several hours, I took an Uber home around 3 a.m. Emily had texted and called multiple times, worried about my whereabouts. I found her asleep on the couch and went straight to bed, not wanting to face her. The next morning, I got dressed and left the house early, avoiding her attempts to talk. I buried myself in work, trying to distract myself from the pain. Later that day, I received an email from the lawyer, confirming our meeting. I made an excuse at work and left to meet him. The lawyer reassured me, explaining that we lived in a false state, meaning Emily would have no claim to most of my assets. This was a small consolation, but I felt some relief. I handed over the evidence and asked him to make copies, as I hadn't yet confronted Emily. He agreed, promising to have the papers ready in about 2 weeks. When I returned home that evening, Emily wasn't there. I called her, but she didn't answer. Frustrated, I texted her, angrily demanding she come home immediately. She called back, confused and worried, but I only reiterated my demand. She arrived shortly after, clearly puzzled by my anger. I confronted her, showing her the printed messages and photos. She tried to deny everything, but the evidence was undeniable. She broke down, apologizing profusely and claiming she still loved me. I told her there was nothing she could do to fix the damage she had caused. I demanded she pack a bag and leave the house. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I haven't heard from her. 3 days had passed, and I hadn't heard a word from Emily. It was difficult to process everything that had happened. So, I decided to take control of my life and started by following some of the advice I found online. First, I scheduled an appointment with my doctor to get checked for any STDs. I wanted to be sure that I was physically healthy amid all the chaos. Next, I reached out to the people closest to me. I called my father and a few close friends, explaining what had happened. They were all incredibly supportive, offering advice and help. However, I told them I had things under control and just needed their moral support. Then, I contacted Emily's family. I sent a respectful yet firm message to her parents, thanking them for welcoming me into their family but explaining that Emily and I were getting divorced. I suggested they get in touch with her if they had any questions. Her parents were obviously shocked and hadn't known about the affair. They expressed their apologies and promised to try and contact her. Informing her sister was particularly painful since we had developed a close friendship. I texted her, explaining the situation and thanking her for always treating me like family. Her parents responded before she did, acknowledging the situation and showing their support for me. I knew I also had to confront John's fiancée, Jennifer, with the truth. It was a difficult conversation, but I felt she deserved to know. I sent her a message asking if we could meet for coffee. She agreed, and we met at a local cafe shortly after. When we sat down, I told Jennifer everything. She was devastated, and I could see the pain in her eyes as she skimmed through the evidence I had gathered. I encouraged her to take the binder and use it to confront John if she chose. She took the binder, thanked me, and left quietly. It was clear she had a lot to process. I returned home and decided to pack up Emily's things. I gathered her clothes, jewelry, and anything else that belonged to her, including our wedding album and photos. I wanted her to come back for her things quickly, as I couldn't stand the thought of her presence lingering in our home. Amid all the chaos, I allowed myself 1 week to indulge in my emotions. I spent time on my back porch, drinking, smoking cigars, and listening to loud music. But I vowed to get back to a normal routine after that week was over. I packed up most of Emily's belongings and placed them in the guest room. Days passed, and I received an email from my doctor. I was relieved to learn that my tests came back negative. My lawyer updated me on the progress of the divorce papers, and they would be served to Emily soon. I was eager to put this chapter behind me. One day, while drinking on my porch, I woke up to the smell of breakfast. To my surprise, it wasn't Emily, it was her sister, Emma. She had let herself in and was making breakfast in my kitchen. She explained that Emily had come to her in tears, saying we were having issues but not revealing the full extent of what had happened. Emma stayed with me for a couple of days, providing much-needed support. She made it clear that she was there for me, not to try and convince me to reconcile with Emily. Emma suggested I take some time away, and I decided to visit my cabin, a place of solace where I could gather my thoughts. Before I left, Emma asked if she could join me. Although I appreciated her support, I felt it was important for her to spend time with her sister and family. We hugged, and she left, promising to keep in touch. The cabin was therapeutic. I spent my days hunting and fishing, enjoying the peace and quiet. I caught a buck and a couple of fish, which provided some comfort during this difficult time. I took only a minimal amount of alcohol, keeping my promise to stay mostly sober. It was essential to clear my head and prepare for the challenges ahead. Upon my return to the city, I received good news from my lawyer. Emily had been served with the divorce papers at her workplace. That evening, Emma called, informing me that Emily was a wreck, crying and unable to leave her room. It confirmed that the reality of the situation had hit her hard. I anticipated an explosive reaction from Emily, so I took precautions. I verified that all security cameras inside and outside the house were operational. I informed my friend and Emma's parents about the situation, asking them to be available in case Emily showed up. Sure enough, Emily arrived, banging on the door and screaming to be let in. I immediately called my friend and Emma, who soon arrived to witness the commotion. Emily was yelling obscenities, begging for forgiveness, and calling me heartless. I couldn't help but laugh at her theatrics. My friend's wife, who was also Emily's friend, tried to calm her down, but Emily slapped her and continued her tirade. My friend recorded the incident on his phone and called the police. When they arrived, Emily tried to play the victim, falsely claiming I had hit her and thrown her out of the house. Thankfully, the police reviewed the security footage, which clearly showed Emily's erratic behavior. They apologized for the misunderstanding and arrested her for disturbing the peace, public intoxication, and DUI. Emma arrived just as the police were taking Emily away, and I showed her the video evidence. Emma stayed the night, and we spent the evening talking about the chaotic events. The next morning, she met with her parents to discuss bailing Emily out of jail. It was a difficult conversation, and I hadn't heard from them since. With Emily out of the house, I turned my focus to the next steps. My lawyer contacted Emily's lawyer, and we set a date to meet and discuss the divorce settlement. It was a tense meeting. My lawyer presented all the evidence we had against Emily, including her infidelity and recent charges. Emily's lawyer tried to negotiate, but we had the upper hand. I sat silently, listening as Emily's lawyer made his case. Emily was visibly upset, crying and pleading with me to reconsider. But I was firm. I told her there was no repairing the damage she had caused. After an emotional 15 minutes, she signed the divorce papers. With the settlement agreed upon, it was only a matter of time before the divorce was finalized. The house was no longer a home, it was a constant reminder of the betrayal. I decided to sell it and start fresh. Despite everything, I felt a sense of closure, knowing I had taken control of my life and future. With the divorce papers signed and the settlement in progress, I started to think about moving forward and rebuilding my life. It felt like a heavy burden had been lifted off my shoulders, but I was still grappling with the emotional fallout. Days after the settlement meeting, Jennifer, John's fiancée, reached out to me. She had finally decided to leave John and wanted to share her decision. She thanked me for providing her with the evidence and the truth, which gave her the strength to move on. I encouraged her, telling her she deserved better, and offered my continued support. I focused on getting the practical aspects of my life in order. I wanted to make a clean break from the past and create a space that was truly mine. I started by redecorating the house, though I intended to sell it eventually. I bought new furniture to replace the ones I had put into storage and tried to clear out any reminders of Emily's presence. Meanwhile, I continued coaching high school baseball, which provided a welcome distraction and semblance of normalcy. The kids had always been a source of joy and pride for me, and throwing myself into coaching helped keep my mind occupied. Emma continued to check in on me regularly, and we would often catch up over coffee or dinner. She remained a steadfast friend, even though the situation with her sister, Emily, had created an awkward tension. She understood my need for space and was always there when I needed a listening ear or a comforting presence. One weekend, I decided to head back to my cabin for some solitude. I felt the need to reconnect with nature and clear my head. The cabin had always been my sanctuary, and returning there always brought me peace. As usual, I brought my hunting and fishing gear, intending to make the most of my time away from the city. The first day at the cabin, I took my rifle and set out early in the morning. I spent hours tracking and finally spotted a buck. It was a clean shot, and I managed to bring it down. The thrill of the hunt and the satisfaction of success was exhilarating. I spent the rest of the day cleaning and preparing the deer. The following day, I focused on fishing, spending hours by the lake. The tranquility of the water and the crisp air were therapeutic. I didn't catch much, but the experience itself was rejuvenating. I used the downtime to reflect on the whirlwind of events and think about what my future might hold. When I returned from the cabin, I was ready for the next steps. I contacted a real estate agent and began the process of putting the house on the market. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but selling the house symbolized a new beginning for me. The house had too many painful memories, and I wanted to move forward without those constant reminders. The real estate agent reassured me that the house would sell quickly, given the location and condition. While I was sad to let go of a place that held some good memories, I was also excited about the prospect of starting anew. Around the same time, my lawyer informed me that Emily had finally retained her own lawyer, and the legal process was moving forward. This meant that the divorce was becoming more official and closer to completion. I couldn't wait for the day when I could say I was officially free of that toxic relationship. I also reached out to my network, looking for support and new opportunities. My friends and colleagues rallied around me, offering connections and advice to help me navigate this transition. One of my old college buddies, Eric, invited me to join a hiking group he was part of. It seemed like a good way to stay active and meet new people, so I accepted. Over the next few weeks, I went on several hikes with Eric and his group. It was refreshing to be surrounded by nature and have engaging conversations with new acquaintances. It helped me regain a sense of independence and confidence. I discovered a passion for hiking that I hadn't known I had, and it became a new hobby that I enjoyed. Amidst all these changes, I made sure to stay grounded in my work. Coaching baseball remained a central part of my life, and it brought a sense of fulfillment and purpose. The kids were doing well, and seeing their progress uplifted my spirits. One particularly memorable day, we had a big game against a rival school. The atmosphere was electric, and the kids were pumped up. They played their hearts out, and we ended up winning the game in a nail-biting finish. Celebrating with the team was a high point in an otherwise tumultuous time. It reminded me that life goes on and that there are still moments of joy to be found. Back at home, the process of packing up and moving out was in full swing. I sorted through belongings, deciding what to keep, what to donate, and what to throw away. It was a cathartic process, and it felt like I was shedding the remnants of my old life to make way for the new. Emily's sister, Emma, continued to be a constant support. She even offered to help me pack and move things out of the house. I accepted her help, grateful for her kindness and steadiness during such a difficult time. We spent several evenings packing, reminiscing about the happier times, and discussing our plans for the future. Emma had her own dreams and aspirations, and it was heartening to see her determination. I realized that despite everything, I had gained a true friend in her. As the house was gradually emptied and the moving date approached, I felt a mix of emotions. There was sadness for the life that could have been, but also an overwhelming sense of relief and anticipation for the future. The support from friends like Emma and the new connections I made through activities like hiking gave me hope. Finally, the day came to move out of the house. While saying goodbye to the house was bittersweet, driving away felt like the closing of one chapter and the opening of another. I took one last glance at the house through the rearview mirror, then focused on the road ahead. With the house sold, I moved into a cozy apartment downtown. It was smaller, but it was a fresh start, one I desperately needed. I decorated the place to reflect my own tastes and personality, creating a personal haven free of painful associations. Life gradually found a new rhythm. I continued coaching, hiking, and spending time with supportive friends and family. Occasionally, memories of the past would resurface, but they no longer held the power to disrupt my peace. I had rebuilt my life piece by piece and found a new sense of purpose. Several months passed, and the divorce was finally finalized. The weight that had been pressing down on me was lifted. I felt truly free for the first time in a long while. To celebrate, I organized a small gathering with my closest friends, including Emma. It was a modest event but filled with laughter, toasts to new beginnings, and genuine happiness. As the evening wound down, Emma pulled me aside and handed me an envelope. Inside was a card with a heartfelt message, thanking me for being a good friend and wishing me all the best in my new life. It was a touching moment, and I couldn't help but feel grateful for the incredible people around me. In the following months, I embraced new opportunities that came my way. I continued to coach, and my hiking group became a second family. I even explored other activities like kayaking and rock climbing. Each new experience was a step forward, helping me redefine who I was and what I valued. One day, while out on a hike with the group, I met someone new. Her name was Rachel, and she had recently joined the hiking circle. We hit it off instantly, sharing stories and laughter as we trekked through the trails. It wasn't love at first sight, but there was something undeniably special about the connection we shared. Rachel and I began spending more time together, discovering shared interests and slowly building a meaningful relationship. Unlike before, I took my time, ensuring we had a strong foundation of trust and understanding. It was a different kind of relationship, one built on mutual respect and genuine affection. As the months turned into a year, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this point. From the heartbreak and betrayal to finding new joy and companionship, it had been a tumultuous ride. But through it all, I had grown stronger, more resilient, and in tune with what truly mattered. In the end, life had a way of throwing curveballs, but it also had a way of providing second chances. My story was proof that even in the darkest of times, there was always a path forward, a path that led to healing, growth, and ultimately, happiness. As Rachel and I grew closer, I shared my past with her, including the pain and betrayal I had endured. She listened patiently, offering support without judgment. It was refreshing to be with someone who understood my need to rebuild my life slowly and carefully. Our relationship continued to flourish, and we found joy in the simplest of things: hiking, cooking dinner together, and exploring new hobbies. With Rachel, I felt a sense of peace and contentment that I hadn't experienced in a long time. Meanwhile, my coaching career also reached new heights. Our baseball team had a fantastic season, and we made it to the regional championships. The kids were thrilled, and their enthusiasm was infectious. Preparing for the big game consumed much of my time and energy, but it was a welcome distraction from the past. The day of the championship game arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. The stands were filled with cheering supporters, and the excitement was palpable. Our team played their hearts out, and we emerged victorious. It was a triumphant moment, and I couldn't have been prouder of the team. Celebrating with them reminded me of the importance of perseverance and hard work. After the game, Rachel congratulated me with a warm hug and a kiss. She had been my rock throughout the season, attending every game and cheering from the stands. Her unwavering support bolstered my spirits and made me grateful for our relationship. In the months that followed, my life continued to find a new sense of balance. Coaching remained a central part of my routine, but I also made time for Rachel and our shared adventures. We planned trips, hiked new trails, and even started kayaking together. Each day brought new experiences and memories, helping me move further away from the pain of the past. One weekend, Rachel and I decided to take a trip to the mountains. We rented a cozy cabin and spent our days hiking, fishing, and enjoying the natural beauty around us. It was a perfect getaway, and being in the wilderness brought a sense of calm and clarity. On the final evening of our trip, we sat by the campfire, roasting marshmallows and gazing at the star-filled sky. Rachel turned to me and said, "You know, I think this is the happiest I've ever been." Her words touched my heart, and I realized just how far I had come since the days of heartache and betrayal. As we watched the flames dance in the fire, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. Life had thrown me some of the toughest challenges, but it had also given me the resilience to overcome them and the opportunity to find true happiness once more. Back in the city, I continued to cultivate my renewed sense of purpose. Coaching, hiking, and spending time with Rachel filled my days with meaning and joy. I also made sure to stay connected with friends and family, appreciating their unwavering support throughout my journey. Emily had faded into the background of my life. Occasionally, I would hear about her from mutual acquaintances, but I no longer felt the anger or sadness I once did. Instead, I hoped she would find her own path to healing and growth. Emma, too, remained a dear friend. Our bond had only grown stronger, and I considered her a vital part of my new life. She had supported me through my darkest times, and her friendship was a constant source of comfort. One evening, I received a call from Emma. She sounded excited and had some surprising news to share. She had been accepted into a prestigious graduate program on the West Coast and was planning to move there soon. While I was thrilled for her, the thought of her moving away was bittersweet. We met for dinner a few days later to celebrate her achievement. Emma's eyes sparkled with excitement as she talked about her plans and aspirations. I was proud of her and grateful for all the moments we had shared. We promised to keep in touch and visit each other whenever possible. As Emma embarked on her new journey, I continued to focus on my own growth. Rachel and I grew even closer, and our relationship deepened. We began talking about the future, sharing dreams and aspirations. I felt a sense of optimism and excitement about the possibilities ahead. One sunny afternoon, Rachel and I were hiking our favorite trail. We reached a picturesque lookout point with a stunning view of the valley below. As we stood there, taking in the scenery, Rachel turned to me with a smile. "I've never felt so at home with anyone," she said softly. Her words resonated deeply with me. I had found a partner who understood and appreciated me for who I was. In return, I felt the same deep connection with her. As we continued our hike, I realized that I was ready to take the next step in our relationship. A few weeks later, on a crisp autumn evening, I took Rachel out to a beautiful park overlooking the city. The sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, creating a serene backdrop. As we walked hand in hand, I felt a nervous excitement building within me. We reached a secluded spot, and I turned to face Rachel. Taking a deep breath, I said, "Rachel, you have brought so much joy and meaning into my life. I can't imagine my future without you." I reached into my pocket and took out a small velvet box. Opening it, I revealed a delicate ring. "Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Rachel's eyes as she whispered, "Yes." We embraced, and the world seemed to fade away. In that moment, I knew that all the pain and heartache I had endured had led me to this incredible new chapter. Our engagement marked the beginning of a new adventure. We planned a simple yet heartfelt wedding, surrounded by close friends and family. Emma flew in from the West Coast to be my best person, and seeing her filled me with happiness. She had been an unwavering support, and I was grateful to have her by my side. The wedding day was a beautiful celebration of love and new beginnings. As Rachel and I exchanged vows, I felt an overwhelming sense of joy and gratitude. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of second chances. After the wedding, Rachel and I settled into our life together. We bought a charming cottage on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by nature. It was a dream come true, a place where we could create new memories and build our future. As we settled into our home, we continued to embrace the hobbies and activities we loved. Hiking, kayaking, and exploring the outdoors remained a central part of our lives. We also began hosting gatherings with friends, creating a warm and welcoming space filled with laughter and joy. One sunny afternoon, while we were hiking a new trail, Rachel turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "You know," she said, "we should start a blog about our adventures. Share our experiences and inspire others to find happiness in nature." The idea sparked excitement in both of us. We spent the next few months creating a blog, documenting our hikes, sharing tips, and posting photos of the beautiful places we explored. The blog quickly gained a following, and we received messages from people who felt inspired by our journey. Through the blog, we connected with a community of outdoor enthusiasts, building friendships with like-minded individuals. It was a rewarding experience, knowing that our story was making a positive impact on others. As time passed, life continued to evolve. Rachel and I cherished each moment, embracing both the challenges and the joys. Our bond grew stronger, and we faced each new day with a sense of adventure and optimism. Looking back, I realized that my journey had been one of transformation, from heartbreak to healing, from betrayal to finding true love. The experiences had shaped me, teaching me resilience, gratitude, and the importance of surrounding myself with supportive and loving people. In the end, life had a way of surprising me. What had once seemed like an insurmountable obstacle became the catalyst for profound personal growth and happiness. My story was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the belief that even in the darkest times, there is always hope for a brighter tomorrow. With Rachel by my side and a community of friends and family supporting us, I looked forward to the future with excitement. Together, we would continue to explore, create, and build a life filled with love and adventure. Our journey was far from over, and we welcomed each new chapter with open hearts and open minds. In the vast tapestry of life, we had found our place, and it was more beautiful than I could have ever imagined.